Hey everyone, what's up? This is Simon from the Ionic Academy. Today back with an interesting quick win on a component that we used before. So this is another episode of component review, of course. And we're gonna inspect the Ionic Searchable Select component. This is not a standard component, but it's a great package. It's available for Ionic 3 and also Ionic 4. There were quite a few changes and it has actually become a quite big project I've seen. So let's dive into this. Grab a nice cup of coffee and go ahead by installing, or first of all creating a new app for testing things out, diving into it and then installing the Ionic Selectable. So the Ionic Selectable is actually, why do we have only 200 stars on this great component? I really don't know. Please make sure to support this package. It is really awesome. So you can see already from this GIF, no, it's actually called GIF, I'm pretty sure, that we want to create an array of items that we can search. We get this overlay that we can somehow configure, and to our happiness, there's really a lot we can configure. Just take a look at the documentation right here, and you will see I've seen way bigger projects having less documentation and examples, so there's really a lot you can do with this. Now, enough of the talk. As I said, install the package. If you're using Ionic 4, use the version 4 point, whatever is up to date at that point. And then go ahead to the module file of your pages, wherever you want to use this, and then add the Ionic Selectable module and import it from Ionic Selectable. So you don't need to import it to your app module, as you will have to import it in the module file for the lazy loaded pages anyway. So then let's add a little constructor here, of course not the console log. Actually not sure if we need this. And the home page is blank, so that's what we currently got. Actually, I already changed the color here so we can make progress faster. Now, to test things out, we need some data, and I will just bring in a little array of users. You can find this link below this video, or simply pick your own data. We will do it synchronously, the opposite of async, and not make any API calls. But actually, this is also possible with the package. Just check out the GitHub documentation on that, of course. So with our data, I think we can dive into and just try to create the first selectable component. So let's wrap this in a little ion item. We can give it a label, which will then be seen in the component actually. So let's call this select basic user. And then we open the Ionic Selectable. There we go. And now a bunch of things can be added. Actually, this can be quite a lot of things. So just use a few easy ones for the start. ng model should be clear. It's basically the result of our selection. I will also add an empty, no, it's actually selected user, not users, because we have only one selected user in that case. And I got a package which is actually marking me these lines if they're not in my TypeScript file. So pretty interesting. Just let me know if you want to know more about my Visual Studio Code plugins. And I'm pretty sure I already know the answers to this question. Anyhow, we can first of all pass in the users data into the Ionic Selectable. That's basically the most important part here. Maybe we could already close this here and show it, but I'm not sure if this would show up anything, because we have to specify which information of our data is actually shown in the searchable select. And it's also a great idea to call Ionic Surf when you're testing out things. If you don't know about this, it basically brings up a live reload of your application. So in order to present the right information in the selectable view, you have to specify which key of your information should be used. So otherwise, the component has no chance to know it. Therefore, we need the item value field. and also the item text field. So text field is what will be displayed in the component. Value field is what will be stored to the ng model, which is connected. So for the item text field, of course, we should use something like the name. So pass in name, and for the value, we can use the ID if we want to. And then when we're lucky, our live reload starts. Maybe now. Will come up in a second, of course. And then we can select the values, and as I said, they will be stored in this value. We're currently only selecting one item. We will come to selecting more items in a second, but for now, that was the version without specifying the item value and text field. And now I save this and we take a look at it again. Actually, I'm also not super happy about my setup here. But anyhow, here we go. We got the names. Select basic user comes from the Ion label. Actually, I think we will just work without the debugging view, and my head will be somewhere here, I guess. So I can select one user and we see the selected user appears right here. That's a very basic form of a select, right? So let's take things a step further. Let's copy this and let's call this select advanced user. And then the Ion selectable let's call this selected, because now we want to have an array of selected users. In order to do so, we need to apply a few more things. First of all, we need the is multiple property set to true, and that's basically everything that you need in the first place to select multiple entries, right? So there we go. But we want to make this or all of the view. Actually, I will make it a bit smaller so you see the bottom button as well. Almost looks like on a phone, right? We want to customize the whole UI basically now. And in order to do so, you can specify templates inside the Ionic selectable that will be then injected in the right spots or slots in the component. So that's really an interesting concept. And one that you might have seen in other places, like I think the data table, the calendar, a lot of places where really good people are developing the component. So for example, you could use the Ionic selectable close button template and specify that you want to use an Ion icon with the name close circle or whatever you want to use. And then instead of seeing the cancel button, if we hit save, we will now notice that in the same spot, if we use the select advanced user, of course, we now get an icon, which is pretty cool. And the same concept can now be applied to multiple things. Let's use two easy ones. A title template to display a custom title, and also a selectable item template. This is basically a template for the item row in which we currently only display the name. But maybe we also want to display more information, like in our case, the country as well. In that case, we can simply apply the current item to a user variable that we can then use in the ng template syntax. So let's see how this now looks. There we go. Simon Grimm, still the button, custom title now, and also the name with the country behind it. Let's also change the header. We can create a header template as well, or we can also simply specify the header color as primary. This makes things a bit easier, so we don't need all the templates. Then you might also want to have something like a search fail text, so nothing found, set face, and all of this, of course, let me show you in a bit bigger screen, can be found on this page. So all the templates are listed here: close button, add item, footer, header, item, whatever. And then we're getting closer. We got the button there, we got the names, custom title, and now we also want to change this footer bar. I really hope that my face is not covering it, so just once showing it here, but I'm pretty sure you should be able to see it. To replace that one, I created a little bigger ng template, so I'll just bring this in right here for the Ionic selectable footer, right? The same like before. And then just a setup with a toolbar and a row with 3 different buttons. And we want to implement those buttons now. So clear goes to our page. Then we got a toggle. And then we also got, of course, it was toggle items. And then we got a confirm. Okay, so 3 functionalities. Also, in order to call or access the actual selectable component, we will give it an ID so we can access it with the Angular viewchild syntax. So let's call this one select component. And then within our homepage, we get access to it using @viewchild select. I forgot the name already. Sorry, select component, and this will be our select component of the type Ionic select. Oh, sweet Jesus! Ionic selectable component, just like before, and then we can use this select component in all the places of our application. So for example, we want to clear and close this, then we would call the select component dot clear and also select component dot close. This basically erases what you selected or clicked and closes the view. For confirm, we can simply call select component confirm and also again close the component. Now for toggle items, we need to know if we want to toggle all on or off. Therefore, we need a little variable again. So let's call this toggle and make it true. And then when we toggle the items, we will use selected component toggle items with this dot toggle. And once we've done this, we will simply reset it to the opposite. And then the next time it will toggle in the different direction. Now maybe one more cool thing, perhaps you want to trigger this from code, so you can also have something open from code and then call your select component open. It is really easy to use. As always with TypeScript, you can dive into the component and check out all the functionalities. Really great explanation everywhere in this package. I really think this is a very well documented and created package. So at least, I don't know, 8 of 10 stars from me for this component. So if we now go ahead, we see our custom footer bar. Clear is not really having any effect right now, but if we select something and hit clear, we see nothing is selected. We can toggle all items on or off, and we can toggle them and confirm and see that everything is selected. Okay, that's almost everything for today. As a little bonus, I also wanted to include a little thing about grouping. As I said, we will not talk about async calls. If you want to see that in action, please just leave a note below and I'm happy to create another tutorial on that, maybe searching with an API or something like this. But it requires a bit of more setup, and I thought what we see in here is already enough for the basic version. Anyhow, one more thing, the grouping. Maybe you want to group items, you use it in Ion lists or other places already, and we can also have this these dividers in the select as well. So therefore, it's not the syntax that I would have expected, where you get items and those got like children. You still need a list of all the items, but they can have like a key which is similar. So then you can group items by the same key. The demo for this with the ports of the Ion selector component is, it took me a few minutes to understand what they're actually doing. So I'll try to keep this as easy as possible. So here we got the groups, and of course we want to show Angular and React under the same framework title, and JavaScript and Swift under the same language key. So therefore we go back to our view. Let's use the basic version again. Oh, and I forgot one thing. I think we wanted to have this little button below our example, which I think completely forgot. Let's just edit Ion button, expand gleich. Yep, that was German. Ion button. I was a bit confused because somebody was calling me and my watch is vibrating. If you don't want to get disturbed, don't buy an Apple Watch. Open from code, and the functionality was also called like that, right? Even code completion for these things defined in my TypeScript file. Really great Visual Studio plugin. I like it. And let's make this one expand, I don't know, block or something like this. Anyhow, the interesting part begins below, where we want to have a group example. So we still need the Ion selectable. We will connect it to whatever group. Just make a new one, or if your IDE is not complaining, just leave it. It would work anyway. Then for the items, we want to use the groups. We just edit right here with the languages. So groups here and groups here. Then things get a bit more interesting. So the item value field is still ID and the item text field is name. But now we also need a group value field and also a group text field. And for both of these, I will just use the type of the group, simply because we have no other thing going on. Maybe if the type would be something like name, framework, whatever, another ID or key or something like this, like that. In that case, we would actually use group value type.id and type.name, so we can also access the sub elements inside our data. But for now, as I said, we want to keep this very, very simple. So the type will be framework and used as both the value and the text of the group. And then we go ahead and select or create another template. And this one, let me copy it, or otherwise I'm gonna make an error, is the Ionic selectable group template, just like we had up here with a footer, header, whatever. And again, we define that the group variable in here is equal to the current group. So the name, this could also be foo, okay? And then this should be foo.text in order to display the real text. So we don't have a text key in here, but it is used as the key right here. So if I would leave it away, we would have an object here. That's just the syntax of the let foo. As you can see, it works pretty good with this one. So here we go, the group example. All the things are basically the same, but now we got the nice separation between framework and language. We can still just select one because we haven't added any other advanced settings in here. We got the select advanced in place. We got open from code in place, which you now can see as well. So I think we did it for today. This was the component review of the Ionic selectable search component. I think a really great package. Please give the creators of that package a heart and a watch and whatever on GitHub. They deserve it. A really great documented package. The usage might be a bit complicated if you're beyond the basic cases. So if you start getting into searching your API data, or in general working with async API data, it gets a bit more complicated. Let me know if you want to see this as well, simply below the video. And then also make sure please to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. And then you will get all the other great Ionic and software development videos. So have a great day, enjoy the next video, and I'll catch you soon.